I didn't mean to download the game. It just appeared. It was late. My room was lit only by the glow of my monitor, my headphones tight around my ears, heart still racing from another round of Warzone. I was about to shut everything down when the screen glitched, just for a second, and a new icon popped up. A plain, black box. No fancy art. Just 2 words, offline forever. At first, I thought it was a joke. Some indie horror game maybe. My fingers hovered over the mouse. I should have deleted it right there. But I didn't. I clicked it. The screen went black. Not dark, black. Like my monitor turned off. Then text started appearing, letter by letter, like someone was typing from the other side. Welcome, Player 1. The game begins when you're ready. But remember, you can't leave. You can't delete. You can only play. Chills crawled down my spine, but I laughed it off. I'd seen creepier intros. Just someone trying to be edgy. So I hit enter. The game loaded fast, too fast. No login screen. No character creation. Nothing. Just a world that looked real. Foggy streets, flickering lights, and empty houses that looked exactly like the ones in my neighborhood. I moved forward. The footsteps echoed like they were right in my ears. Then I saw the first avatar. It was a guy, standing still under a street lamp. Hoodie, jeans, messy hair. He looked just like my best friend. Too much like him. I typed in chat, Jay? He didn't respond. He just turned slowly, and for a second, I swear, he smiled at me. And then the game crashed. My desktop reappeared, but the offline forever icon was still there. Clicking it did nothing. Right-click, delete, nothing. I even tried shutting my PC down. Still there when I rebooted. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Jay. Dude, did you send me that creepy game? Why do I see myself in it? My chest tightened. I hadn't sent anything. I texted back fast. Don't play it. I think it's cursed or something. 3 dots appeared. Then nothing. No reply. I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. That night I barely slept. Every sound felt louder. Every shadow in my room looked like it was moving. The next morning, Jay didn't show up to school. People said he was in some kind of accident. Fell from the stairs in his house, broke his neck. They said it looked like he'd been running from something. But I knew. The way his avatar smiled at me. The way the game crashed right after. It wasn't a bug. It was a warning. Now the game icon flashes every time I log in. It wants me to play again. I don't have a choice. I didn't open the game the next day. I tried not to even look at the icon. But every time I turned on my PC, it was there, pulsing slowly, like it was breathing. That night, I unplugged everything. Monitor, CPU, even the router. I needed a break. I needed to believe Jay's death was just a coincidence. But that's not how it works when something wants you. At around 3:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. No name. Just a number I didn't recognize. Why'd you leave me there? I dropped my phone. My room was silent. I picked it back up and stared at the screen. A follow-up message came seconds later. Come back. We're still playing. I didn't respond. I didn't sleep. The sun felt fake when it finally came up. At school, Jay's desk was empty. They brought in a grief counselor. People were crying. I just kept staring at the seat where he used to sit. And then I noticed something weird. On the edge of his desk, carved with something sharp. Offline forever. No one else seemed to notice it. Or maybe they didn't want to. After school, I tried everything to get rid of the game. Booted in safe mode. Used every uninstall tool I could find. I even wiped the drive. Nothing worked. When I gave up and turned the monitor back on, the game was already running. This time, the world was darker. The sky looked like it was about to storm. Thunder cracked without lightning. I didn't move. I didn't want to see anything. But the game moved me. My character started walking on its own, down a familiar-looking path. I knew this place. It was the back road behind my school. The one where students go to skip classes, smoke, make out, and where the cameras don't reach. A second avatar was standing there. A girl. Long black hair, yellow hoodie. Maya. My stomach dropped. Maya was the only person left who believed me. The only one I told everything to, about Jay, about the game, about how I was scared. She thought I needed help. She wasn't wrong. The avatar turned slowly, and this time it spoke. Why didn't you warn me sooner? The voice came from my headphones, but it wasn't digital. It was Maya's real voice. The exact way she sounded on the phone. I ripped the headphones off, but the sound didn't stop. It was coming from inside the room. I turned. Nothing there. Then I heard my phone buzz again. A notification from Maya. Selfie, just her, in her room. But behind her, in the dark, there was a shape. A silhouette. I texted, "Get out of your room," over and over, but there was no reply. She didn't come to school the next day. I biked to her house, but police were already there. Her mom crying outside. An officer pushed me back. They said she jumped from her window, but her room was on the first floor. They said it was an accident, but she landed like someone pushed her. There's no way this is a game anymore. But I think I already lost. And I haven't even reached the second level. I tried to stay offline. I really did. No games. No PC. No phone. I even unplugged my TV and threw my router in the trash. I told my parents I was grounded. They barely noticed. But it didn't matter. The game doesn't need the internet. It's already inside. It started with the lights. I was brushing my teeth when they flickered. Twice. Then all at once, the entire house plunged into darkness. I froze, foam still in my mouth, toothbrush gripped tight. A low hum started. It sounded like a fan, or maybe my old gaming PC. The one I hadn't touched in 2 days. I walked slowly to my room, heart thumping. And when I opened the door, the monitor was on. The game was running. No cables. No power. Just the game. This time, the setting looked like my house. Exact layout. Same walls. Same posters. My stomach twisted. I didn't want to play, but my character was already moving. He walked to a mirror. On screen, I saw myself. Not my in-game character. Same shirt I was wearing. Same toothbrush still in hand. Then the reflection raised its hand, slowly, and pointed behind me. I spun around. Nothing. But when I looked back, the mirror version of me was still pointing. Still frozen in that pose. Text appeared on the screen. "You're not alone anymore." I slammed the power button. The monitor turned off, but the glow didn't. My room stayed lit with that same faint blue hue, like the screen was still on. And in that light, I saw movement. A shadow in the corner, just out of focus. I didn't blink. I couldn't. Then the screen turned back on by itself. New text. Level 2, trust no one. My heart dropped. My phone, which I had shoved in a drawer, suddenly vibrated like crazy. When I opened it, there were messages from people I didn't recognize. Dozens of them, all saying the same thing. "You're next." Then came the call. No ID. Just static on the line. But under the crackling, I could hear something. Breathing. Then a voice whispered, "You shouldn't have left the game." I hung up and threw the phone across the room. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the corner, hugging my knees, waiting for something, anything, to happen. And just before sunrise, the screen flickered again. A new avatar appeared, standing outside a door. Not just any door, my front door. And it was knocking. And over. And over. Then the sound started for real. Knock, knock, knock. Downstairs. I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't even plugged in. I think the game has found a way out. And now it's playing me. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The knocking kept going, slow, steady, patient. Like it knew I was there. Like it wasn't in any hurry. I stared at my bedroom door, expecting it to swing open. But it didn't. Instead, my phone buzzed again. I didn't want to touch it, but I did. My hands were shaking. It was a live video from my front door camera. Except, we don't have a front door camera. On screen, I saw myself standing outside. Same hoodie, same hair, same exact look of fear on my face. Then the fake me looked directly into the camera and smiled. The screen went black. My heart felt like it was going to explode. I ran downstairs, every step like a gunshot in the silence. I swung the front door open. Nobody there. I stepped out onto the porch, looking both ways. Street was empty. Cold air stung my skin. Birds chirped like nothing had happened. I almost convinced myself I imagined it until I turned around. My front door had changed. Carved right into the wood, deep and jagged. Level 3 unlocked. I didn't even know I had moved past level 2. I didn't play anything. I didn't beat any boss. Unless surviving the night was the test. Back inside, I ran to my PC. Still on. The game's still running. This time, no street, no house. Just a void. Endless black. And one sentence on screen. Invite another player. I backed away. No way. No chance. Not again. But the cursor moved by itself, highlighting names from my contacts list. Friends, classmates, family. One name flashed red. Ethan. My little brother. The game knew. I sprinted to his room. He was asleep, drooling into his pillow like always. I shook him awake. Don't touch any game on your tablet, okay? Nothing. Not even Roblox. He blinked at me. You okay, dude? I lied. I said, yeah. I said I was just being weird. But when I checked his tablet, Offline Forever was already installed. I didn't even know the game could run on tablets. I tapped it. The app didn't open. It just showed a screen with both our names. Two avatars. One taller, one smaller. Both holding hands. Walking into darkness. Underneath, a message. Two players connected. Permanent bond. I tried everything. Factory reset, throwing the thing in the bathtub. Nothing worked. The app always came back. I wanted to scream. This game isn't about playing anymore. It's about spreading. And now it's using me to do it. Like a virus. Like a curse. No delete button. No uninstall. Invite another player. And I did. Without meaning to. Without knowing how. It's inside my house. Inside my brother's room. Inside me. And I think the only way to stop it is to finish it. I couldn't protect Ethan. I thought I could, that maybe if I stayed offline, kept him away, fought it hard enough, I could keep the game from reaching him. But Offline Forever doesn't care about rules. Not ours, any. The night after the app showed up on his tablet, he started acting different. Not scary different, just off. Quieter. Watching me when he thought I wasn't looking. Drawing weird things in his notebook. The same shape over and over. A circle. Broken down the middle. Like a power button split in half. I asked him what it meant. He said, it's where the players go when they lose. I didn't sleep that night. The game was open again when I went to my room. This time, no avatars. Just a white room. A single chair sat in the middle of the screen. And someone was sitting in it. I leaned closer. The figure had its back turned. I waited, hoping it would disappear like the others had. It didn't. Then the camera angle in the game began to spin, on its own, rotating slowly around the chair. The person sitting there was me. Same black hoodie. Same tired eyes. Same scar above my left eyebrow from when I fell off my bike as a kid. And on the screen, under the image, was a timer. 3 hours, 44 minutes, and 12 seconds. I stared at it, heart pounding. What was it counting down to? I didn't have to wait long to find out. The next day, 3 things happened, all before lunch. 1. My friend Danny messaged me. "Hey, I found this game on your Steam list. Thought it looked creepy. You in?" 2. I checked my Steam profile. The game had been added to my shared library. Public. 3. Danny collapsed in the middle of class. They said seizure. No known history. Her lips were blue. She survived, barely, but she hasn't spoken since. They said she was murmuring something before she passed out. Guess what it was? Invite another player. I went home, threw my entire rig into a dumpster blocks away, smashed my hard drives with a hammer, burned the cables. It didn't matter. When I got back, my TV was on. My reflection was on the screen. The timer had less than 2 hours left. I think it's counting down to the next death. I don't know whose. Maybe Danny. Maybe Ethan. Maybe me. I tried to warn people. Posted in forums. Sent emails to game sites. Nobody believed me. One guy replied, "Offline forever? Oh, that ARG is fake. Devs never released it. Creepy pasta stuff, bro. But it's not fake. I didn't download it. It downloaded me. And now the only thing that keeps me awake is the countdown clock, and the fact that it just reset. But now it's not showing my name. It's showing Ethan's. I ran. I didn't think. Didn't grab a coat. Didn't lock the door. I just ran straight to Ethan's room. He was sitting on his bed, tablet in his lap, staring at the screen like he wasn't really there. His lips were moving, but no sound was coming out. "Ethan!" I yelled. "Give me the tablet." He didn't even blink. I snatched it out of his hands and looked at the screen. A new level was loading. It looked like a hospital hallway, dark, flickering lights, cracked tiles. The kind you only see in nightmares or horror games. At the end of the hallway was a single door, glowing red. And Ethan's avatar was already walking toward it. I tapped at the screen, swiped, tried to close the app. Nothing worked. The door at the end of the hall creaked open on the screen. Inside, there was a hospital bed. Someone was lying in it. I leaned closer. It was me. Eyes open, completely still. Then the screen glitched and a message appeared. "You gave him the invite." "No," I whispered. "No, I didn't. I didn't mean to." Another message popped up. "Intent doesn't matter. Rules are rules." I dropped the tablet. It hit the floor with a crack, but the screen didn't break. Instead, it lit up brighter than before, almost blinding. Ethan blinked, like waking from a trance. "What happened?" he said, confused, rubbing his eyes. I didn't answer. I couldn't, because my phone buzzed again. A new message from a number I didn't know. "Player 2 is active. Timer, 1 hour 12 minutes and 9 seconds. The clock was counting down again. I looked at Ethan. He was rubbing his temples, like something inside his head was pounding. He looked at me with wide, scared eyes. Why do I feel like something's crawling in my brain? I tried not to cry. I pulled him into a hug. "I'm gonna fix this," I said. "I promise." But I didn't know how. All I knew was that this game, this thing, it wasn't just using us. It was feeding on us. On attention. On fear. On connection. It spread through devices, through screens, through invites. And now it had Ethan. I made him lie down, told him to rest, and locked myself in my room. I turned on the PC, even though I knew what would be waiting. Offline Forever launched before I touched anything. There were 2 avatars on screen again. And Ethan. This time, we were standing in front of a huge door. Rusted metal. Giant lock. In big red letters above it. Final level unlocked. But there was a third figure behind us. Just a silhouette. No face. No name. It reached out to Ethan's avatar. The timer ticked down to 59 minutes and 54 seconds. I don't know what happens when the countdown hits 0, but I know it takes someone. And I've got less than an hour to make sure it's not him, even if it means going through the door myself. The door loomed ahead, flickering in and out like a broken signal. I didn't touch anything, but my avatar stepped forward. Then Ethan's did too. And the third figure followed behind us like a shadow that didn't belong to anyone. The timer kept ticking. 52 minutes and 17 seconds. My hands were shaking, but I kept going. The game wasn't just showing me something anymore. It was reacting. The deeper I went, the more it felt like it was alive. Like it could hear my thoughts. See through the screen. Inside the door, everything changed. It wasn't pixelated anymore. No graphics. No avatars. Just video. Real, grainy video, like an old security feed. It was my house. My hallway. My room. The camera moved through the space, slow and floating, like something crawling on the ceiling watching. Then it stopped at my bedroom door and stared at it. I stared back. My bedroom door was shut. Then in real life, creaked. Just a tiny shift, like someone resting their hand on the other side. I stood up from my chair, heart punching inside my chest. I grabbed a baseball bat from under the bed. I don't even play baseball. It was just there from years ago. Felt like the only real thing I had left. I opened the door. Nothing. But when I looked back at the screen, the game, my character was gone. So was Ethan's. Only the third figure remained. Still standing. Still waiting. The screen started to flicker fast. Images popped in and out. Flashes like memories. Jay's face, frozen mid-screen. Maya's window, cracked wide open. Danny collapsing in class. Ethan, smiling as he stared blankly at the tablet. Me staring into the screen, older, hollow, lost. Then one last image held longer than the rest. A grave. My name. Today's date. Underneath it. You can leave. But he stays. I slammed my fist on the desk. No. Take me instead. The screen glitched violently. The figure turned toward me, for the first time, and its face changed. It became mine. But not how I look now. Older. A version of me that had been stuck inside the game for years. Then new text appeared. He's in. You're out. Game must go on. The timer hit 0. The screen turned black. No sound. No flicker. Just total silence. I screamed Ethan's name and ran to his room. He was gone. His bed was still warm. His shoes by the door. But no sign of him. I searched everywhere. Basement. Closets. Backyard. I screamed until my throat gave out. No sign of him. Until I went back to my room. The monitor was back on. The game was running again. One avatar now. Ethan. He looked up at the screen. He smiled. Then slowly he raised one hand and waved. Underneath him, in glowing red letters. New host selected. Invite another player to begin. I dropped to the floor. I think I understand now. You don't beat offline forever. You escape it by giving it someone else, by trading lives. And now Ethan is inside. And I'm free. But the game's still running. Still open. Still waiting. For me to invite the next player. And the worst part? Somewhere deep down, a part of me wants to. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, in the cold glow of the monitor, staring at Ethan's avatar. Still waving. Still smiling. Still waiting. The game didn't say anything else after that. No new levels. No countdowns. No distorted voices whispering in the dark. Just that one message frozen on the screen. Invite another player to begin. Like nothing ever happened. Like he never happened. But I knew the truth. My brother was trapped inside that thing. Somewhere beyond the code and the fake levels and the glitchy avatars, he was in there. And it was my fault. Because I hesitated. Because I played. Because I looked too long. And now I had a choice. Invite someone else. Or never see Ethan again. I told myself I could beat it, that if I just kept the game running, didn't invite anyone, I could find a way to bring him back. break the rules. Hack it. End it. So I started searching. Forums. Code repositories. Pirate sites. Anywhere the name Offline Forever showed up. Most posts were fake, creepypasta garbage. This game kills people. Deleted my hard drive. Devs went missing. But there were others. People like me. Whispering in dark corners of the internet. Threads that were immediately locked. Accounts that went silent right after posting. One comment kept showing up. Don't play it. Don't invite. Don't look at the mirror. The mirror. That was the first time the game made contact. Back when I saw my reflection point behind me, when I thought it was all just some messed up art. What if that's the key? I ran to the bathroom. Same mirror. Same crack in the corner. I stared at myself, daring it to move, daring it to blink. And then it did. Just for a second. My reflection blinked before I did. Then it smiled. A slow, cruel smile that didn't belong to me. And in the fog on the mirror, a message appeared. Or stay forever. I backed out of the room slowly, heart pounding in my throat. When I got back to my bedroom, the monitor was no longer showing Ethan's avatar. Instead, it showed me, standing in a white room. And behind me was another figure, Ethan. He looked older now. Maybe a year, maybe 10. It was hard to tell. His face was tired. His eyes weren't blinking. He whispered something I could barely hear through the speakers. Let me out. I reached for the keyboard, and the screen glitched. A new prompt appeared. Y/N. Do you wish to continue? I froze. I knew what that meant. Pressing Y would let me back in. It would give me another chance to switch places with him. But there's a catch. If I go back in, I may not come out again. I may end up like the others. Disappeared. A name on a missing persons list. A warning in a Reddit thread nobody believes. The cursor blinked. Waiting. But I don't know what to press. But the worst part? The game's starting to learn my rhythm. It knows my thoughts. And tonight, it moved the cursor by itself, hovering over the Y, and clicked. Game loading. Darkness. Total, suffocating darkness. At first, I thought the screen had gone black. But then I realized I wasn't seeing anymore. I was inside. The game had swallowed me whole. There was no HUD, no buttons, no keyboard, just a cold floor beneath my hands and the sound of something breathing nearby. I opened my eyes. I was in the white room again, but it was different now. Darker, like the game itself was breaking down. The walls pulsed like veins. I could feel them throb with every breath I took. And there, at the far end of the room, Ethan. He stood with his back to me, completely still. Ethan! I yelled. He didn't move. I ran to him, but the room stretched like I was running in place. The walls started to hum, vibrating with a low, gut-twisting sound, like feedback from 1,000 broken radios. Ethan! Finally he turned. His face was pale, empty, like something inside had been hollowed out. But his eyes, they were still his. He reached out and whispered, "It won't let go." I grabbed his hand. Then we force it. That's when the floor cracked. Long, jagged lines split beneath us, and the white room shattered like glass, dropping us into a free fall. Falling, spinning, screaming. Then we hit the ground. I opened my eyes to a new level. This one looked like a theater. Rows and rows of empty seats, facing a single glowing screen. On the screen, sitting at my computer, right now, watching. The camera zoomed in on my face. I turned around in-game, and behind me, in the real world, something moved. Back in my room, on my chair, watching through the webcam. "You're not the player anymore," a voice whispered through the speakers. "You're the entertainment." I looked at Ethan. We're still in. This is another level. He nodded slowly. And they're watching. Who? The lights above us flickered. In the rows of the theater, dark shapes appeared. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. All identical. Faceless. Silent. Watching us from the shadows. Glitching in and out like broken code. And in unison, they whispered, "Invite another player." I stood in front of the screen and screamed, "No." The lights snapped off. Total darkness again. When they came back on, Ethan was gone. And on the glowing movie screen, he was standing in my room. In real life. Wearing my clothes. Smiling. Waving. I banged on the screen. "No. You can't, he's not." And the final message appeared. Host transferred. Player 1 has been replaced. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I reached for the screen, but my hand hit glass. A reflection. I was inside the screen now. And on the other side, Ethan, living my life. In my house. Wearing my face. And smiling at the camera. Welcome to Offline Forever. Enjoy the show. I blinked, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The reflection in the screen wasn't me anymore. It was Ethan. He moved with a strange ease, like he'd been practicing. Smiling like it was normal to live someone else's life. I pounded my fists against the glass, but it was solid. I was trapped inside the game, watching the real world through a screen. My phone buzzed again, but this time, the message wasn't from the game. It was from an unknown number. "You're next." Panic swallowed me whole. I tried to scream, but the sound was gone. My voice was stuck inside the digital prison. I looked around the empty white room. No doors. No windows. No way out. Just the glowing screen showing Ethan, free in my world, living my life. I realized then what the game really was. Not a game. Not a curse. The trap. It didn't just play with you. It played for you. It stole your life, your body, your place in the world. And now it was playing with mine. I sat on the cold floor and stared at the screen. The cursor blinked on the keyboard, hovering over a single button. Invite another player? My hand shook. My mind screamed no. But I knew. If I didn't click, I would never leave. If I did, someone else would be next. The screen flickered. A soft whisper filled the room. "Who will you choose?" And suddenly, the game wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about who you're willing to lose. Because here, Offline Forever, was the game no one wins. Days passed, or maybe hours. Time lost meaning inside this endless white prison. I kept staring at the screen, at the blinking cursor waiting for my choice. The silence was deafening. Then, suddenly, a new message appeared. Player list updated. Names started scrolling. Friends, family, people I knew. One name caught my best friend. The one who always believed in me, even when no one else did. I stared at the name, my heart pounding. Would I sacrifice her? Could I? The screen flickered again. Invite another player to escape. I closed my eyes. I thought of Ethan, of Danny. I thought of all the faces I had lost and all the ones I could still save. And then, with trembling fingers, I moved the cursor. The screen went black. A cold voice whispered, "Welcome to the game." The door to the white room creaked open, and I stepped forward, because this nightmare isn't over yet. The moment I stepped through that creaking door, the world around me shifted again. No more white walls. No more empty rooms. Instead, I was standing in a dark forest. The trees loomed tall, shadows stretching like long fingers. A thick fog curled around my ankles, hiding what lurked beneath. The only sound was the crunch of dead leaves under my feet, and the distant echo of a voice. "Help me!" I spun around, heart pounding, but no one was there. Just the fog, swallowing everything whole. Then, the game spoke again, its voice low and cold. "Find the player, or become the player." I had no choice. I had to follow the voice. Every step I took, the forest grew darker. The trees whispered secrets I couldn't understand. And the deeper I went, the heavier the weight of the game pressed on me. Was I chasing Ethan? Or was I chasing my own fate? There was only one way to find out. And that was to keep moving forward, into the unknown, where the line between player and game vanished forever. The fog thickened, swallowing the path behind me, erasing any chance of turning back. Each step forward felt heavier, like the forest itself was trying to trap me deeper inside. Then, out of the shadows, a faint light flickered, like a lantern swinging in the wind. I hurried toward it, heart pounding. At the edge of a small clearing, I saw a figure. It was Ethan, but something was wrong. His eyes were glassy, empty, like he wasn't really there. "Ethan?" I called out, voice trembling. He turned slowly, a sad smile on his lips. "Welcome to Offline Forever," he whispered. The trees around us seemed to lean closer, whispering warnings I couldn't hear. I reached for him, but my hands passed right through. He was a ghost, a trapped player, lost inside the game. Help me, he begged, before it's too late. I knew then what I had to do. I had to beat the game from the inside, or lose Ethan forever. The forest darkened again, and the real nightmare began. I took a shaky breath and stepped deeper into the dark forest, determined to find a way out, or at least to save Ethan. The trees whispered around me, their voices soft but urgent, like they knew secrets I didn't. Shadows flickered at the edges of my vision, always just out of reach. Suddenly, the ground beneath me shifted. The earth cracked open, and I fell, tumbling into darkness. When I landed, I was in a room filled with screens. Each one showed a different scene. My friends, my family, strangers. All trapped inside the game, frozen like statues. A cold voice echoed from nowhere and everywhere. Every player has a choice. Escape means a sacrifice. Who will you choose? I looked closer. On one screen, Ethan was trapped in a cage made of code, his eyes begging for freedom. I clenched my fists. I would find a way to break him out. I had to, but the screen started to flicker, and the cage began to close tighter. Time was running out. I needed to act fast. Because here, in Offline Forever, the game wasn't just about surviving. It was about fighting back. And maybe, just maybe, winning. The screens flickered wildly, and suddenly, a new message appeared. Solve the puzzle to unlock the cage. I looked around. No clues. No hints. Just the cold glow of the monitors. I focused on Ethan's cage. Lines of code wrapped around him like steel bars. Then I noticed something, a pattern in the code. It repeated every few seconds, like a rhythm. I started tapping keys, trying to match the rhythm, breaking the code bit by bit. The cage's bars flickered, but then the voice returned, harsher this time. Wrong move. Penalty activated. The cage tightened. Ethan's eyes flashed with fear. I froze, then remembered something from the forums. The game reacts to fear. I took a deep breath. Focus. Control. Slowly, I resumed typing, ignoring the warnings. The code started to unravel. The cage cracked. And with one final keystroke, the bars shattered. Ethan stepped forward, blinking as if waking from a long sleep. We did it, he whispered. But the voice wasn't done. Level complete. But the game is not over. The room dissolved, and we were plunged into darkness again. But this time, we weren't alone. Behind us, footsteps echoed. Slow, deliberate, closer. The final challenge was waiting. And this time, we had to fight to survive. The footsteps grew louder, echoing through the endless blackness. Ethan and I stood back to back, our hearts pounding in unison. The darkness around us began to shift, shapes emerging, twisting, taking form. Faceless figures. The shadows from before. They moved closer, silent but deadly, their presence pressing on us like a heavy weight. I whispered, "We can't let them touch us." Ethan nodded, gripping my arm. Suddenly, a faint glow appeared in my hand, a small orb of light, pulsing with energy. Where did it come from? I had no idea, but I held onto it tight. The shadows recoiled, hissing like they were afraid. I realized the light was our weapon, a way to fight back. Step by step, we pushed through the dark forest inside the game, using the light to keep the shadows at bay. But the deeper we went, the heavier the darkness became. And I knew this was only the beginning, because Offline Forever wasn't just a game anymore. It was a battle for our very souls. We walked in silence, surrounded by a world that didn't belong to anything human. No wind, no sky, just dark trees and the sound of something breathing behind them. The orb of light in my hand flickered, dimming with each step. I could feel it getting weaker, like the game was draining it on purpose. Testing us. Ethan gripped my arm. There's something ahead. In the distance, a faint red glow pulsed through the trees. Like a heartbeat. We followed it. The ground beneath us started to glitch, grass turning to static, trees warping in and out of shape. I looked down. My feet weren't leaving footprints anymore. We weren't in a forest. We were inside code. A fake world. A broken one, built to trap us. Then we reached the source of the red light. A massive door, rusted, covered in strange, jagged symbols. Above it, words burned into the air. Final stage, player versus player. I froze. No, we're not doing this. But he wasn't looking at me anymore. He stepped back, face cold, eyes flickering. His voice dropped. I didn't escape. I traded places. What? I thought I could leave if I invited someone. I didn't know the game would keep me too. He reached into his pocket, pulled out an orb just like mine, only his burned red. Enemy. The game was never about beating it. It was about turning us on each other. One of us walks out. The other stays behind. Forever. The door creaked open behind him. Make your move, player one. And then he ran. Into the final level. And I followed. The moment I stepped through the rusted door, the world twisted. The trees disappeared. The sky turned blood red. And the ground cracked into giant floating platforms, suspended over an endless void. It was like we were inside a broken video game, corrupted textures, flickering shadows, And in the middle of it all, Ethan. He stood on the far platform, waiting, red light pulsing in his hand like a heartbeat. But his face, it wasn't his anymore. It was stretched, glitching, like the game had dug into him too deep. I called out, "You don't have to do this." But his voice came back hollow. "Cold. Only one player leaves. You know the rules." I raised my light, now weak and flickering, and stepped forward. The platforms shifted under my feet. Some crumbled, some moved. Each jump was a choice. One step closer to him, one step closer to losing myself. Then the game glitched again. Dozens of versions of Ethan flickered into existence, surrounding me. All of them with those same hollow eyes. All whispering the same thing. Invite. To repeat. Invite. To repeat. Invite. To repeat. I closed my eyes. This isn't real. It's trying to break me. I gripped my fading orb tighter and ran. Through the voices, through the face, toward the real Ethan. When I reached him, we both stood face to face, light versus light. The game crackled around us, screaming, "Fight or stay." But I didn't raise my hand. Instead, I opened my fingers and dropped my orb. Ethan blinked. The red glow in his hand flickered. "What are you doing?" he whispered. I stepped closer. "I'm ending the game. For both of us." The moment the orb shattered, everything froze. The sky turned white. The platform stopped moving. And for a second, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Silence. Then a voice, different this time. Softer. Said, "Player 1 has broken the loop. No new players invited. No host assigned. Offline forever." The world began to fade. Not violently, gently, like a game finally being uninstalled. I saw Ethan smile, his real smile, one last time. And then everything went dark. No sounds, no voices, just black. And then I opened my eyes. In my room, no monitor, no game, just sunlight, just silence. I checked my computer. Like, no trace of offline forever. No Ethan. Just me. Alone. But free. Or at least, that's what I thought. Until I got a message. From Ethan. No words. Just a file. Offline_forever_exit. And 3 words. Your turn now. To be continued. My hands trembled as I stared at the message. Offline_forever_exit. It pulsed faintly in my inbox like a heartbeat waiting to be opened. I didn't move, didn't click, just stared. And then the screen blinked. Twice. All my desktop icons vanished. My background turned black. I didn't touch anything. The file opened by itself. No warning, no loading screen. Just a black window with one sentence in red. You thought it was over. I slammed the laptop shut, but the screen stayed on, bleeding through, like the game had escaped. My lights flickered. The air grew colder. A whisper slid across the room. Not from the speakers. From behind me. You broke the loop. But you started something worse. I turned slowly. My mirror. It wasn't showing me. It was showing him. Ethan. But not the Ethan I saved. This one was wrong. Smiling too wide. Eyes too black. I backed away. He raised a hand and mimicked me perfectly, every move I made, a split second before I did it. Like he was controlling me. Then the whisper returned, closer now. You deleted the game. But it didn't delete you. Suddenly, the mirror cracked. A spider web of fractures, crawling from Ethan's smile outward. And behind the cracks, a dozen more reflections. All twisted, all broken, each one from a different version of the game. I wasn't the only one who played. I wasn't even the first. The real game hasn't started, the voices said. It begins when you think you've won. Then the mirror shattered completely, and behind the glass, a dark hallway, lit by screens, each showing a new player, new victims. One of them turned toward the camera, toward me, Maya. She was in the game, the new version, and this time I wasn't the player. I was the host, the one who started it, and I could feel it crawling back inside me. The game wasn't over. It had just gone offline, forever. To be continued. I stared into the broken mirror, the shattered glass glinting with screens behind it, each one showing a different player, different world, different pain. And there she was, Maya, alone, inside the new version of the game. She couldn't see me, but somehow I knew she could feel me. The light on my screen pulsed again. Another file popped up. Access host controls? I didn't touch anything. It opened anyway. A dashboard. Glowing buttons. Controls I didn't understand. Everything written in a twisted mix of code and symbols. Then a live feed. Maya, wandering through the same forest I once walked. Same shadows. Same whispers. And then, the worst part. One blinking button. End player. My heart stopped. The game was offering me the power to delete her, just like it did to me. I slammed my fists on the desk. No, I'm not doing this. The voice returned, the one from the game, but colder now, more human. You broke the rules. You refused the trade. Now you pay the price. The lights in my room went black. The screens all glowed red. Felt it, the game crawling back under my skin. And then I understood. I was never supposed to win. None of us were. We weren't playing offline forever. We were building it. Every player, every click, every choice. Feeding the code, spreading it. I looked back at the feed. Maya was running now. Something was chasing her. I grabbed my keyboard. There had to be a way to hack it, reverse it, something. I dove into the code, typing like my life and hers depended on it. And maybe it did. The screen began to flicker. Lines of code glitched. The feed shook. Maya turned and looked at the screen. Right at me. Please, she whispered. And then, crashed. The screens exploded into static. My room went dark. Dead silent. My phone buzzed. One final message. You tried to break the loop. So we broke the game. Now no one leaves. Offline is forever. I stared into the black mirror of my screen, and slowly my reflection disappeared, replaced by Maya's. Screaming, fading, gone, game over. No continues. Thank you for playing. In the end, offline forever was never just a game. It was a virus, a trap, a living code that feeds on fear, guilt, and choice. You thought you were the player, then the hero, then the savior. But in truth, you were just the next piece of the puzzle. Every choice you made, every friend you tried to save, only helped the game evolve. It doesn't want to be beaten. It wants to spread. Through players, through devices, through stories. Now, it's no longer just on your screen. It's in your world. It doesn't end when the computer shuts off. It doesn't die when the host logs out. Because offline forever isn't a game anymore. It's reality. And whether you're a player or the next host, you'll never know until you hear that voice. Welcome back. Ready to play? And by then, it's already too late. Offline forever.